Welcome to Media Moguls. I'm excited to have Cryptoblood with us again. And I'll tell you why, because this time you're here as Cryptoblood. So you don't have to be nice. Last time we met, you were like being super nice. You were like, oh, I got a job to do. I got things I can't say. But now you get to say whatever you want. But seriously, I'm super excited. You've been in the space for a long time. You're quite knowledgeable. You've had some amazing guests. Recently, I think I saw on the show you had the Rich Dad Poor Guy dad dude on. You do some solo market analysis. I watched one this morning. You're talking about Bitcoin and the final takeover of the institutions. So I'm just excited to have you here and talk to you about the insight as you prepare to race around the track of
the crypto track. I'm in my crypto car doing 64,000 miles per hour. It's a pleasure being back, Jimmy, as always. Corey. I'm glad to be here. So hey, whatever we want to talk about, we can do it.
Well, we got a bunch of stuff. You guys got a bunch of stuff. I think we're going to give away some stuff later. This is going to be a show of awesome stuff. So, well, let's start with here. Like what? So I want people to think about this, because what are your sentiments about the market right now? And what do you mean by like, this is the last push, for people who might not have seen that video, for the institutions to take over Bitcoin and the crypto?
Yeah,
World.
I was being somewhat hyperbolic in that video, but I mean, I do believe that. Like, we have a scenario now where we have futures that came into place a couple of years ago. We have now, the ETF. Wall Street can directly, invest in Bitcoin, not spot, but the futures price of Bitcoin. So that's critical because they can pretty much, if more money is influenced and more people see the price of Bitcoin in these derivative markets, then it's going to, over time, in my opinion, a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to see the same thing happen that happened with the COMEX gold and silver markets, where the spot price of these assets are no longer the reference point, and it should be. So that's where I think we're going with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin in particular, because it was the first one to be financialized, if you want to say.
Yeah, well, the first one was passed, and I think there's another one that's up for passing as well, right? Coming up soon, a second ETF as well. So I have another question. It's more of a personal question, and to be honest, I don't even think it matters. Like, I don't even think that it mattered with gold, really, for the price point of it. But there is that argument that, like, when you have ETFs and you have these people who are trading that aren't actually holding the asset, that the asset becomes like disproportional to the actual asset that exists. And like, right. So in terms of Bitcoin, right, like the big draw with gold was always that, like, you had the gold was yours. If the economy goes to shit, then, you can you can get out the file and you can eat, right? You can shave off enough gold for a loaf of bread, what have you. But obviously that doesn't work, because like nobody wants to carry around gold in their pockets. That's just insane. But with Bitcoin, it's a little bit different, right? Because everyone's already carrying a cell phone around in their pockets. Now, what's your take on this? Like, so these ETF funds that are coming out now, the nice thing about them is that they need to be backed by Bitcoin, right? Like, they must have, according to my understanding, the ones that just passed, they're going to have that amount of Bitcoin that they're selling in reserve, right? They're not
the one that went live yesterday does not.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that then. I didn't know that. I thought that one did. Maybe it's the one that's coming.
It's based on the future. It's a futures Bitcoin ETF. Now, I don't know what the ones in the coming up are going to be, but I know for sure yesterday, no. That one
So
was not.
what's your take on that? Does that matter when it comes to, I don't really care about price in a way because I think that it is going to go up a lot, but does that matter? Does that matter to the underlying value? Not price value, but does that matter to the underlying value of people who have been in the Bitcoin game for a long time?
Mm, yeah and nay. Like it's very complicated to me, to be honest with you. Because there are so many nuances. Like, I mean, of course, the ethos early on was be your own banker, private, hold your own private keys, the libertarian movement. That was really kind of when I got into Bitcoin. That's where we were. Um, but you've seen a shift over the years. More people are keeping their funds on Coinbases, on different exchanges, crypto exchanges and whatnot. So it seems like we're going through the same evolution or history that we did with money, where people stop keeping their gold on their person or in their own homes and began to leave them in banks. And banks began to see all of this gold sitting here that never left. Well, hell, if that's the case, we might as well rehypothecate this gold, right? Give people certificates that say they have a deposit for this gold. And it's very simple. I mean, I see we're going down the same road with Bitcoin. The difference is, though, as you stated, it is easier to carry Bitcoin no matter what the nominal value is. It can be $1 billion and it's on your phone. Unlike gold, you can't there's no way you can move around $1 billion worth of gold. So logistically is a little bit harder, and maybe that's the silver lining. Maybe that's where people will still be able to um, have a true price and a true market for Bitcoin, because I'm talking about referencing the spot price of Bitcoin. My only concern in general, Jimmy, is that I think that I don't want us to get away from the natural market forces of discovering and price discovery of Bitcoin, and primarily Bitcoin. I'm talking about, all these other coins or tokens have a whole different, there's a speculative price aspect to it, but there's actually more utility with a lot of the tokens that all of us are involved in. So, but yeah, in particular to, specifically to Bitcoin, that's my only concern.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, what are we're almost in the last, I can't remember. I had a friend, he was really good at tests. He had a photographic memory and he could write the answer, everything, And one of our biology tests, that was the test. You had to basically write the notes that were on the board. You get perfect every time. I would get like 70%, but I didn't really study and I kind of understood it. And I used to get annoyed though, because like this guy, he would always like come across as being the smartest in the class, but if you asked him a question, most of the time he couldn't remember it like a week later, right? And so like this is kind of how I learn. And I'm really good with numbers and facts. So if I get things wrong, just correct me. I'm okay with that. I'm used to talking my way around ideas that might or may not make sense. But I think like I read something somewhere that there was basically a list of the 4 assets that one of these major multi-billion-dollar companies or corporations in the States was holding: Bitcoin, Ethereum, EOS, and Bitcoin Cash, because these were the 4 that were like indefinitely deemed as non-securities, right? Everything else was kind of in the security gray zone or something like that. Do you kind of know what I'm talking about? Like,
no, I do know what you're talking about. I used to have that thesis a few years ago about EOS, saying that, hey, they've crossed the Rubicon. They are on the other side. We know the SEC has already, pretty much granted them the ability to move forward. So there shouldn't be any more legal issues there. So I thought that EOS would be one of those tokens that would be a safe one if we started to see more draconian type actions taken by some of these governmental or organizations, which I think is coming for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like shit was hitting the fan, what, not so long ago, about a month ago, about Ripple.
Right.
Corey cracks me up about Ripple because he's like, if there ever was a security, I don't know, it's probably Ripple.
It's probably Ripple. Yeah.
Right. But still shit hasn't hit the fan. It hasn't come for it, right? And so like,
Not yet. I think it's coming though, Jimmy. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to really see them begin to clamp down, especially if these central bank digital dollars here in the United States ever come to fruition. I think that would be their step, just like China did, right? China came out with their central bank dollar, digital dollar, yuan dollar, and began the ban again for the 100th time. But this one is really pretty strict. It's pretty extensive. So I think United States will do the same thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm always looking at places that have more freedoms than other places, and crypto is one place that I'm kind of concerned with now because we don't really know what's going to happen, right? And I mean, the laws aren't in 99% of the countries out there. The laws are like still so archaic that like pretty much you can be screwed doubly. Right, like in the general cycle of how cryptos work, like to date, generally it's been a 4-year cycle, over and over. It's getting a little bit longer as time goes on, but like that, I think 2017 was what, a month and a half that it took Bitcoin to like go from like an okay level to its all-time high, followed by like 2 or 3 months of alts going nuts. Right. And then like drop to nothing. So like if you're counting those gains and you have to pay for them for the next year, you're absolutely screwed, especially if you didn't cash out. Right. Like it's really problematic. So I don't know. But Corey's a little bit burnt out because he's trying to figure out what his interplanetary galactic yield is looking like up there. He's really invested in this game. Speaking of which, we're going to give away some blue token later in the show. We're going to run a little contest. So please I'll put it in the chat, but put your hashtag WAX, and then after that, put your Wax account, and we'll spin the wheel and get.
Jimmy, are you familiar with? I'm sure you are, Corey and Jimmy, familiar with like Libraland. Libraland.
Yes. Why?
What is that? I don't know what that is.
I am familiar with it, but what is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that the area, the region between. I don't know what 2 countries it's in between, but they basically took over a plot of land that wasn't being utilized. I want to say by the Soviets, or I don't know.
It sounds it sounds familiar, something like that. Yeah, and they're supposed to be like their own new country with like zero regulation or something like that.
Exactly. Well, they have their own constitution and all of that. I was just saying, like, I mean, I had Joey, I think his name is Joey Langenbrunner on from Lieberland. He's the deputy, and he was like, "Oh, well, we can all just go here and be safe." I'm like, man, come on! Like, countries use force,
right?
Like, what makes you feel like you'll just be able to just go there and live and have your Bitcoin and your own constitution without any friction? I just don't see it.
Between Croatia and Serbia. It was proclaimed
there you go.
On the 2015. It states that the nation was created due to the ongoing Croatia-Serbia border dispute. According to Jedika, the dispute resulted in an area that was not claimed by either side. Okay, so I guess they planted the flag like an island, and now it's theirs. That's really interesting because, I was there in that area about 7 or 8 years ago, and it was awesome. But I wouldn't want to be there right now. I don't think things are very stable right now.
So, I brought that up just because you were saying like where you could flee or where people can go with their cryptos and stuff, and be outside the purview of, you know, a lot of these gangs, you know. But I don't know. I don't know where that is yet. I don't think it's a place like Liberland just yet.
I think it's a balance, right? Like, and it's not just crypto. I think it's everything, right? Like, if you want to, a crypto is good because it gives you the ability to self-manage your funds. But I don't think that's the best thing about crypto. I think the best thing about crypto is it gives you the ability to go off grid, essentially, right? Like, you still need to be connected. You still, I guess you don't really, but you probably still need to be connected to the internet and stuff like that if you're doing things like DeFi or you're gaming or any of these things, right? But it allows you to get outside of that system. But then once you're outside of that system, it makes you rethink the place that you want to be, the place that you want to live in, right? And like, I think community becomes a big part of it as well. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Japan. It'll probably always be my home in a sense, but you know, I live in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the world, and one of the nicest cities in the world, and one of the, like, you know, safest cities in the world. But like, you know, what COVID taught me was that, like, I'm kind of all alone here. Like, it's right. Like, there's the community is very small, and I mean, I think COVID did another thing too. Like, it polarized people's views, so you kind of resonate with what you believed in. And I'm not making any statements one way or another what people believe, but I think that a lot of people, you know, on as far as both of the extremes, realize that a lot of people, they thought they knew, they didn't, right? And so this changed a lot of the way that we interact with one another. And now I'm looking at it and, like, you know, I have a bias for you, Jerry, because I just like Detroit for what it stands for. The fact that you guys got completely, totally screwed. And then, like, it's probably one of the strongest, like progressive, like, I don't mean progressive in terms of, like, you know, technology, but progressive in terms of communal coming togetherness and, like, trying to, like, reform the city from a grassroots level. If you look at all the community gardens that are going around, like all the, you know, things that are happening in there, and I've had this conversation with you, and like, this is one of the reasons that you choose to be there, is because you like the community, you like the place, right? Which I think says a lot. Like, you know, Detroit's not necessarily the most movable city too in the US, right? But a person like you, who probably has that financial independence, probably has that ability, has chosen to stay there. In my opinion, I don't know, it could be a completely different reason, but because of that community, because of that homegrown spirit that you have. And I think that that's really interesting, right? Like,
yeah, it's my hometown, right? And I see a lot of areas where, you know, blockchain could help. You know, many times we see people try to make a solution for a problem that doesn't exist when it comes to blockchain. But I really think that blockchain could seriously help cities like Detroit.
right.
And so, you know, we're doing our part. You know, we're doing our part. And if I weren't with EOS Detroit, I might not be here. But because I am with them, and we're coming up with solutions to do a lot in the city, I think it's exciting. I want to be here for that, for sure.
It's a good job you're not Canadian, because, like, if you were Canadian, you'd just pick them up, rebrand the Nordiques to the Avalanche, and call yourself Coloradans. Right before you win the Stanley Cup with the exact same team.
Right. Right.
That's good.
Yeah, good thing I'm not. But yeah, Detroit is a special place. It still has that kind of, they're trying to hold on to the automotive thing, you know, but I think we're pivoting into a different direction here in the city. And I'm hoping that blockchain, we can kind of lead it with blockchain and tech, period.
Yeah, well, and I mean, there's a lot of really amazing things, I think, like I said, on a community level that are happening. And I think blockchain can amplify a lot of this, right? To the point where, you know, it can potentially become a self-sustainable city again. But, hey, Corey, we should do some gratitudes too. So I have a question for you, just on a little bit of a lighter side too. I want to know, and I know it's hard to pick one, so if there's a couple, that's okay. But you've been making videos for a few years now. like 5 or 6 years, I think is what I read. Like, quite a few, not just ad hoc, and you've had some pretty amazing guests. So in your opinion, like who's your favorite guest, or who's your most amazing guest? Like whatever criteria you want to have. Like you could have the smartest guy in the room on your channel, and it might just be like a really boring show. So in your opinion, what are the best guests that you've ever had, and why?
Oh man, that's a question I've never been asked. Let me think about that, because I thought that I was going to have a great time. I was really excited about having a person like um, Andreas Antonopoulos, right? I've had him on my show, but it wasn't I think this in that scenario, he only had like 30 minutes, and I thought I had a block of an hour. And when I usually interview people, I can't interview you in 30 minutes. To interview someone in 30 minutes, you literally have to have an outline.
Right.
And just go, okay, next question, next question, next question, and we're done. I can't have a conversation with you. So I think I was a little disappointed that that was cut short, because I really couldn't get into a conversation with him. I would probably say one of the more interesting ones. There were a couple. Zuby, this guy Zuby from the UK. He's been on Joe Rogan's show. He's a buddy of mine through on Twitter. He got famous for doing the women's deadlift. So he went and did the women's deadlift and said, "Hey, I broke the women's record for deadlifting." He's a real like
he was messing around, right? Like that was his.
Yeah, he was trying to prove a point, basically.
I don't get it. What's the point? I don't know what the point is.
I guess his point is that women should be doing, stay in their women's categories, and men should be in their men category.
Okay. I mean, I like, how long ago was this? Because I've never heard about this guy. I think that this takes a whole new twist.
Ago.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. Because like I think this takes a whole new spin after the whole transgender thing with the Olympics, right? Like
right. So it was prior to that, but it's like that was what he was saying is, hey, we have to draw a line somewhere when it comes to the sports side of it. I personally don't have a problem with transgenders or any of the that community, but that's what he was saying. So yeah, he was a pretty interesting person I've had on. I would probably say Max Kaiser is he's a great friend of mine. He's one of the more interesting guys to have on. You never know what he's going to say, and who knows if it even makes sense. But he's just like, he just catches your attention. I think he does that for that reason, to really get people to just listen about Bitcoin,
Yeah, I'm interested. How did you meet Max Kaiser?
Oh God, how did I meet Max? I think somehow he knew about me, and it was shocking. I've been watching Max for years on RT, but
right.
I was in Miami one year, I think it was 2017, and I honestly can't remember how I actually met him and became friends with him and Stacy. But yeah, I know I first met them in Miami at one of the Bitcoin conferences back in 2017 or 16.
So are you still friends with them? Like, because before you were like a podcaster, but now you're like, the head honcho of EOS Detroit, and Max Kaiser's pretty like Bitcoin maximally, right?
I know.
So he's like, no, man. Like you're going the other way.
Man, he says everything's a shit coin, and I don't even bring it up when I get around him. I just saw him. I went to visit him in Phoenix, maybe 6 months ago, 5 months ago. So I never bring up anything that I'm doing.
Right, fair enough.
We were talking about more so like we went to dinner with Stacy and Max. I brought my family down there, and we talked about the COVID situation and their experience with it and all of that. So it was less crypto.
Right? Less crypto, more cryptic. I get it.
Right, 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 right.
So yeah, I guess we're gonna do the if you don't have the hashtags in, we'll do that draw soon. Or Corey, you ready?
No, it's still, actually I will be ready in a couple seconds. Yeah.
All right, let's do the roundup. So yeah, why don't you do you know what's going on with Blue Deck there, Cryptoblood?
I do not. Fill me in.
Yeah, so Corey's the better one to do that because you know what's
We
happening? What's Blue Deck?
how long do you have? We launched a massive DeFi game on Wax. There's a bunch of tokens on there. Some of them were getting locked up in swaps, but the swaps on Alcor were like really, really, really thin. So we launched the Blue token, launched the memberships, and we're dumping $20 million worth of Blue token on people at current prices over the next 30 days who lock up LP across 21 pools. So basically all the not all, but half the major tokens on Wax is who we started with. And we haven't done we started like yesterday. I only have like a rough estimate on the total value locked, but it's going to be in the millions pretty soon. So
nice. Yeah,
it's a thing. We're all pretty tired. We've been crunching on it for about the last 3 weeks, so I'm just kind of like walking back and forth in the back of my head. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be pretty massive, and then we're gonna bring it to EOS and Binance Smart Chain and kind of bridge it everywhere. So
nice.
It's gonna be pretty solid.
That's exciting.
And
we can get some wrap Bitcoin on there.
Corey won't let me do it, but I think you should definitely do it, Cryptoblood. What's your hashtag Wax account? Because maybe you can get some Blue too.
Let me give you one of my wallets. Give me a second. I'll put it in the private chat here, and then you can put it out there. But yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, guys.
It's brand new. We launched like 18 hours ago. Yeah, it's bluedac.io.
I think you should create a new crypto wallet just to like take the piss and call it like call the Bitcoin or sorry, create a new EOS or Wax wallet just to take the piss. And call it suck it, Kaiser. And and then when it moons, just give it to him and just be like, hey, here, Mr. Maximus.
There's one for you. Yeah, Max, I really don't like I really feel like he does that just to prove drive home a point. He's being extreme to really just bring attention to cryptos. I don't really think he's a maximalist. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I think most of these people aren't actually maximalists, to be honest. Like some of them might be, but yeah. All right, I'm gonna put it in. So the one that comes up for the uplifters is for Cryptoblood. It's not for us, just so that everyone knows. And I think that we're only gonna do this for 5 days. So if you happen to win and you've already won the last 2 days, sorry. But the rules of the game, as we mentioned, are we will give you something else, but we're not going to give you 1,000 more Blue. So I know a couple people are here in the comments, like Pablo. I know you won yesterday. That's great. Congratulations. But we really want to space this around. So I don't know. What do you think? Is that fair, Corey? I'm
sorry, I was only half listening. But I'm
so we're gonna give out 10 of these 1,000 Blue 1,000 Blue prizes, and you're only eligible for one. But if you put your name and your Wax account and you win, then we'll give you something else. Like we got some drop bears packs to give away.
So many NFTs. That sounds good.
Yeah, and I think
just go on the honor system, so we're not we don't want to go after anybody.
Yeah, we kind of.
And I mean, people. Yeah, everybody who hangs out here is awesome anyway. So
and yeah, I do apologize, but if we don't do that, none of you are going to get anything because the minute Small Town Cowboy shows up, he's going to get everything.
Yeah, dude won 3 times in a row on a random number generator. I'm like, come on, man, quit hacking the internet
for something that he already said he didn't need.
Yeah,
that's the universe for you.
It's so fun.
It's good. All right, let's do some gratitudes first, though, if you're ready. So. Yeah, we're working on. There's a split plot in as you know, Jerry. There's a split plot in gratitude. for facings.io, which we're hoping to get. We're working on something on the back end now to enable us to make it easier for whitelisting. So hopefully that gets done soon. But I'm looking forward to your guys. You guys have got a builder in there, going to put in a gallery. I'm excited to see what comes out of Gratitude with the galleries. So, of course, like, you know, Rob, Rigo, and people that you're associated with are working on Facings, doing a lot of the grunt work over there. But what's new? What are you guys doing over in EOS Detroit? Do you guys have anything new in the pipeline?
Yeah, we got a few things. Most of I can't really speak on, but there are some dApps or, you know, SaaS platforms that we're working on internally that we want to roll out very soon. We've done some things for improvements on the Wax blockchain for Wax Labs. We pushed some improvements to that. I don't think they're live yet, but we're going to be working with Telos Works to improve their system. So we're doing a lot of improvements across the blockchains, EOS.io blockchains that we support. But on ground and in community, we actually have an NFT bootcamp, that's coming up next month. So that's going to be great.
When you say on the ground, does that mean happening live in person, or are you going to do that like over?
Yeah, it's live in person in the city. We're having, in conjunction with a nonprofit, the Knight Foundation. They're pretty huge, but they're more like an art organization, nonprofit. So we're kind of partnering with them and a company called Grand Circus here locally to provide a 2-day boot camp that goes over blockchain and NFTs.
That's awesome.
To really get to really get like artists up to speed on what NFTs are and how they can leverage them for their own and in their own space. So we're excited about that for sure.
That's very cool. Yeah. Oh, so that was the other thing I wanted to ask you, because I saw you in there. I wasn't lucky enough to have you in my group, so I don't know what happened with that. But you participated in the first Eden election proper. What were your thoughts on that?
Man, that was awesome. That was a great experience, man. It flowed so well. It was much better than the trial. I participated in the first trial, and it was just great to see like the team really work on the UI and have everything on, you see who was in your round and you can vote and all that. It was just great, man. I'm very excited about that whole concept. It's going to be huge in my opinion. The fractal governance is dope, man. It really is. What about yourself? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I went in with the intent not to run and like support somebody, and I did support somebody, but I was a real dick about it. I won't lie.
Why? What happened?
I was just like, there was this guy who basically wanted money, and I think their project is good, and it might have been a little bit of an English barrier, but nobody else in our group wanted to run. And you know me, I'm like a talker a little bit. Right. I was like, okay, like what are you gonna do? And he's like, oh yeah, so we're gonna basically use this money for our project for marketing. And I'm like, well, I mean, I think that there should be like more substance, really. Like you should build something for the ecosystem that other people can use, or you should like, come up with some solution rather than just marketing for EOS. Because like I get it. I get that EOS needs marketing. And I wasn't trying to be a jerk about it, but like I don't think marketing is going to help EOS. I mean, it might do a little bit, right? It's not bad to have marketing for EOS, but like we're kind of a little bit too late. Like the people who have already like turned their backs on EOS, they're not going to come back because we throw a marketing push. It's actually going to be worse, right?
You're so right.
So like my idea was like, why don't you like add to that some kind of like infrastructure to allow like better organization or better something like that. I didn't really have necessarily a concrete idea. You can go back and you can watch it. Obviously, that's the great thing about EOS, right? And in the end, right, like one of the other group members said, well, I mean, like he's the only one that's really got a plan that's going to do anything. So what are we going to do? And I said, well, obviously, like, yeah, we should vote for him. I'll vote for him. I just think, like, if you go further into the further rounds, that I hope that you come up with a little bit more, concrete thing that it doesn't necessarily have to be open source, but that the whole community can use, right? But that's what I like about it, is like I can have my say. I can have my cake and eat it too, in a way, right? Like I can have my say, but I can still push someone through, right? And I'm like, I can give them this idea of like what I expect of them if they win, which is kind of nice too. So I mean, how about you? Did you go in with a plan? Did you have a proposal, or were you just there to experience it and support people?
I really was just there to experience it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't want to try to progress through the whole thing, because I just have so much on my plate now. I'm just like, I don't think that would be the best. But ironically enough, man, we started to get down to the wire, and they were like trying to get me to go to the next round. And I mean, I'm like, hey, I mean, if that's the case, but I stepped back and said, I really think that John Williamson should be the one. I mean, he's worked with Dan isn't kind of endorsed what he was doing over there with the violet thing. And I kind of convinced everyone, just let's go ahead and vote for John. And thank God we did, because I think he made it to the final round. So that was good.
Yeah, he was. I think he's on one of the final members that gets part of the funding as well, which is really
exactly.
Cool, right? Yeah. And yeah, so if you don't know, Violet Garden is basically the social site that only Eden members can use. So you have to actually be a verified user to be able to use it, and it's you can collect a little bit of VIO token every day if you log in. And you can exchange it. But the interesting thing about it is Dan himself, I think what you're alluding to, said the way voice should be, or something like that. It was like the way voice should have been, which I think is quite interesting, considering all the things that happened a couple of years ago. But yeah, let's just roll.
That's a hot mess. That's crazy that you spend $30 million on a domain name, and then you end up,
and then you upheaval it, and you go for NFTs, which already be like,
it's ridiculous, man. I just don't understand.
And I mean, like, I don't have any problem with projects going for NFTs, right? Like, Facings is trying to build a business out
of
it.
But it seemed like it was
makes sense, right? Like,
but it seemed like it was a move to just ride the next big wave thing, instead of just hankering down and focusing on really trying to disrupt the social media issue that we have.
I'm not like a good surfer. Like, I'm okay. Like, I can surf. Like sometimes I don't make the wave, but I'm a good enough surfer to know that you can't get up on the back of the wave and expect to ride it down, right? Like, it's not going to work that way. Like, and this is what they keep doing. This is what they keep doing every single time. It's like great. You wanted to go to NFTs. You should have done it a year ago when EOS Detroit ported, when they created Facings, when Scarce, the idea of Scarce was born, which is another Gener EOS project. Like when the Crypto Writer guys ported from like what they were doing into their Finny thing, right? Like, like even with what happened with the Uplift world, like and tokenizing real estate in the metaverse, right? Like that was when to do it, and we were early because we were doing something that nobody really had done before, but still to the NFT game, like we weren't as early as a lot of these other projects. And then Voice was like, I don't know what, a week ago?
Right.
Not really, but
right. No, I mean, I'm with you. And the only thing I had a concern about the Violet Garden thing was that, hey, do we really is a social media platform really are we going to disrupt much and really garner a lot of attention with another social media platform? That was my only concern. But you get what I'm saying, Corey? Like
100%, man. The social media thing, like you start no matter what at it as an also ran, probably not going to mean anything. There's no network effect there, right?
Right.
So like if you want to get into a space, I mean, this is ultimately why like we were forced to build Blue Deck. There is no like real at scale incentivized LP on Wax. There's a bunch of tokens.
Right.
There's a bunch of token liquidity now. There's a bunch of shit like bouncing back and forth. There's metric ass tons of economic activity and no DeFi serving it properly. We had to fill that hole, right? Social media is pretty fucking full and doesn't give a shit about your project and never will, right? So like, what are you going to do differently that's going to force me to come over there and hang out? And then not just me, because like I'll be there for 5 seconds and then I'll leave, right? Like it's that anything that has that social, it has to be sticky enough to get, orbital freaking launch velocity. And
TC made a good point
about
TC said the metaverse is going to disrupt social media. I can see that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there's a reason why Facebook is talking about, hiring 10,000 people to build one out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the evolution. So if that's the case, you want to be going that direction versus what we traditionally see as a social media platform. So
right. Yeah, it's just
Violet
like we
Garden,
can't be
do
trying
a
to
metaverse Violet Garden.
right? Like and I think that's where it'll probably be headed, right? Like we have this amazing new technology, and we know that being in crypto and blockchain and NFTs, slapping it to things that are probably on the way out might not be the way to go.
Exactly. Yep, I totally agree.
Now, I mean, prove me wrong, because they might, and I will applaud them for it.
We'll see. I'm with you though, Corey. I think you got it right for sure. We'll see.
Yep. Excuse me.
All right, you want to do some gratitudes, or should I do the drop?
I'm set up, or I was set up, and then we started talking about stuff, and it's probably like gone now. God damn it, Jimmy. Here, hold on.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Here, hold my mouse. Wiggle it back and forth a little so I don't get booted.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. Yep. Morning, Suji. All right. Blam. Deep blam. Boink. Come on, don't be an asshole. There we go. All right. Cryptoblood. What are you grateful for?
Man, I'm grateful for my team over at EOS Detroit. We're making it happen. A lot of things behind the scenes that, again, I can't talk about right now, but I got a group of smart, young guys and gals that are just really trying to push the envelope and really allow and get people to know about this wonderful technology called blockchain. So that's what I'm grateful for today.
Awesome.
Hey, Corey, what are we looking at?
Oh, shit. See, like, look at this. Like, my screen sharing thing has been busted all week because I'm having to do the whole window. So I do that because, like, this doesn't show up. I don't know if you guys can see. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. So, okay. So I picked the whole screen. I'm sharing my whole screen, right? And then I go over here and click over here on this thing, and then it shows up. But then, like, that worked.
Oh, there we go.
Yippee fucking doo-dah.
Is that it?
That's it. That's the one. Anyway, Jimmy, what are you grateful for?
Today, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with Cryptoblood. I'm grateful for Cryptoblood and all he does in the space.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, Corey.
Boom.
I'm grateful for the innovators. Something we haven't seen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I would bet oodles of money. That's what you guys are up to at EOS Detroit.
Yeah.
Just a guess.
We got some stuff we're trying to do, man. It's going to take a while for it to come to fruition because it's just who we're dealing with. But yeah, it can be major for sure.
I believe it.
Yeah, I think we're going to witness a really big snowball effect. I don't know how long or how high that hill's got to be or how gradual it's going to take to build up steam. But when I think about DeFi and I think about NFTs, I mean, the sheer potential of it is like, I remember, you know, a few years ago, like people talking about, oh, you know, the institutions, they're trying to slow Bitcoin down. There was that famous thing, you know, when the person misses the train, they gotta, you know, walk. But when the institution misses it, they pull the train back. Like it was all over the place, right? It's funny because when I think about that with DeFi and NFTs, it's not even an issue. Right? Like it's not even like it doesn't even matter anymore, right? Like that's nobody even cares, right? Like I mean, I could be wrong, but like if you have DeFi and you have NFTs, you can always play the game, no matter how big the institutions, you know, get their positions in there, or they're not going to be able to pull that back, right? It's truly decentralized. Right. I mean, I could be wrong again, but.
No, I agree.
What are you most excited about in this space?
Well.
I think NFTs and NFTs, not in the sense of what we see as popular today, the art stuff. More so NFTs used in a way to validate or bring validity to physical things, right?
I like that.
So that going in that direction, I think is going to be a huge space, and that's what I'm really excited about. Man, I wish I could talk about what we're doing, but yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. So yeah,
just because it's the obligatory, like, you know, get Corey to wins. I know exactly what you're talking about. NFTs that are coupons that are used at supermarkets. Corey's just gonna leave.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm fucking out of here, dude.
No, but
I was talking to a guy who Brad, who did the show on Blue Dot yesterday, and is in the DeFi space everywhere else, like, you know, really, really deep, and was talking about this one situation where, you know, because they're doing a lot of innovation and crazy shit in DeFi, and he was talking about like there's one little bit where we need to kind of have a situation where we can sort of prove ownership of a static amount of LP or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I bet you $5 that where this ends is an NFT. And his brain just went bunk, right? Because it just it's like the non-fungible, you know, section of tokens, right, where we were kind of moving from this fungible ability to this non-fungible ability. Like it has a power that I think we're starting to realize in, you know, the ability to connect it to a buddy of mine wants to, like, you know, do proof of like Rolex watches or whatever, right? That kind of thing. But also, you know, as an instrument to organize little chunks of you know, financial or tokenized value, we haven't even scratched the surface of that yet. Right. And like, you know, V3 on Uniswap is actually looking at that now. Right. Like they're kind of doing something like that. And I think that's the Atari level version of it. Right. I mean, this is one of the bigger steps towards digitizing banks and just making them go away.
Yep.
On the NFT, like honestly, on the NFT side of things, what I like is I like the ability to be able to, you know, own your own craft again. And then with, you know, what Our Planet did, and now a bunch of other places are kind of adopting this, that staking model where you can actually stake NFTs and you can get a reward, right? So you could create a series of NFTs, and if they don't sell, or while you're waiting for them to sell, or after they sell, people are actually being rewarded for having them in the ecosystem. And I think that's a really interesting thing, right? Like we're not seeing that so much, but I think it's starting to become more and more and more apparent, right? Especially in the Wax ecosystem. And yeah, I just think it's going to be really, it's interesting how all of these blockchains, especially in EOS.io, kind of, when they came out of the gates, they decided to like compartmentalize, but now they're all kind of starting to come together. And it's weird to like play out that race in the back of your mind, because you had Proton, which was like focused on the wallet type thing. Now they're getting into NFTs, right? You had Telos that was focused on the, you know, the governance thing. And now they're like moving towards cross chain. You had Wax, which is always focused on the NFTs, and they're almost untouchable now. Everyone's like, holy shit, we're behind. We got to go into this, right?
Right.
You had, you know, EOS, which was focused on, Yeah.
I just had Justin Giudice on. He wasn't. This is actually episode 2 that I'm doing like interviews and stuff on behalf of EOS Detroit. So we gotta getting that whole EOS Detroit podcast going. But we interviewed him last Friday. He lives here locally, so that was interesting to have
Nice.
him come into the studio, and we had a great talk. So yeah, it was pretty good talk. They're doing some exciting things over there at Telos as well coming up.
Yeah, I mean they did do a good job, I think, with the whole EVM thing and like porting over. I don't have time to follow it, everything, and so like I know a lot of people who are really excited about Telos, and I really hope that they do well. You know, it's going to be interesting to see. I think EOSIO as a whole ecosystem just make the run, because I think it will happen, a lot of it together. So, all right, for 1,000 Blue again, I will send this out shortly after the show. Because we got to copy down the address and make sure it's right. But let's roll. If you won already, we will be sending you a Drop Bears pack. And if the Wax account that is an actual Wax account that comes up as the Uplifters wins, that's actually going to Cryptoblood. That's not our account, it's his. Just so that everyone knows, let's go. Pablo, you get a Drop Bears pack. We're going to spin again.
Nice.
Yeah, because he already won. But that's awesome.
Did win. It is. Yeah. It is awesome.
So you get a Drop Bears pack from us. But we'll spin again for the blue. Daniel Day, Wise World Gallery owner Daniel Day, you have some blue that we will be sending to you, which is pretty awesome. So one question, Ocentes wants to know, do you have a podcast or a YouTube series? Yes, and yes. But go for it. Show yourself. Tell people what you do and when you do it.
Yeah, sure. So on YouTube, you can find me. Just type in Cryptoblood or CBTV, and you'll find me there on YouTube. I do weekly videos covering just various crypto news. And also on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter. So it's Cryptoblood _ on Twitter. That's pretty much it for now. Like I said, I'm gonna start doing the EOS Detroit podcast as well. We've got 2 already filmed. Very, very good conversations. So look out for those here in the near future. I'll promote and tweet those when they're ready. But yeah, you can mostly find me on Twitter and on YouTube.
Awesome.
Very cool. That's great. Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. If you have anything else that you want to shout out.
No, I as always love coming on, guys, and let me know next time you want me to come on. I'm there.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to have to get you on another roundtable again in very soon. Speaking of roundtables, we're not going to do one this week because we're a little bit busy, and so instead, we're actually going to do one next Tuesday at our regular time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a pretty sweet roundtable. We're basically going to be talking about metaverse art curation. And so we're going to have not only metaverse art curation, we're going to be talking about uplift metaverse art curation. So we're going to have a bunch of the guys from the Loop, maybe Joey Chips, over a bunch of people who are curating galleries in the uplift for that roundtable. So do come and check us out over on the Crypto Writer channel. That'll be good. But yeah, definitely I think we're long overdue for an EOS one, but also, I don't know, we're just going to do like people who have interviewed crazy guests that we haven't roundtable to, because I mean I would love to interview Rich Dad Poor Dad, what's his name, Robert Kiyosaki. Like some of these people that you've interviewed are just absolutely awesome. So I definitely recommend that you go and subscribe over to Cryptoblood's channel, and even take a scroll back like a week or two, because there's some good things popping up there all the time. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Jerry.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you guys all on the flip side.
Sorry, I didn't hit the button. I'm sorry, Jimmy.
That's all right.
And I'm sorry I was kind of absent today. I'm like legit off my game. You want to chop again?
Oh,
I seriously thought you were frozen. I'm like, he's so still.